One, I appreciate you sticking around while I healed from my surgery. Everything went well. I'm looking forward to bringing some new content. Unfortunately, I have a bit of a cold, so I apologize for the way that I sound. We are starting season 3 off with a bang. The following storyline is both a true crime and a whatnot. So let's just dig in. Warning: the following case depicts the violent deaths of an entire family, as well as possible paranormal happenings. Listener discretion is advised. In the town of Babylon, in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York, there sits a small, quiet village. This village was first founded in 1653, but would later become famous for all the wrong reasons. With its picturesque scenery and beautiful views, the small village was a perfect place to raise a family. Unfortunately, that all would change on the morning of November 13th, 1974. Shortly after 3 a.m., gunshots from a .35 caliber lever action Marlin rifle rang out at 112 Ocean Avenue. The aftermath would become something from a nightmare. Around 6:30 p.m., 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr., or Butch as he was called, rushed into Harry's bar, sobbing and asking for help. He stated he thought his parents had been shot. He gathered a small group from the bar that included his best friend, and they all drove the short distance to his house. Now, while Ronald drove to the bar, he did not drive home, even though it was his car that was driven back. Once inside the house, they located the bodies of Ronald Sr. and his wife Louise. While one person made the 911 call, another person went through the home only to find that the 4 other children had also been killed while sleeping in their beds. This left Butch as the only surviving member of the family. When the police spoke with Butch, he told them he believed it was a mob hit, so he was immediately taken into protective custody. The next day, however, Butch confessed to murdering his entire family after his stories became inconsistent. He admitted he took a bath and changed clothes before going to work. He told investigators where they could locate his bloody clothes and the rest of the ammo from the gun. According to autopsy reports, his mother Louise and his 13-year-old sister Allison were awake when they were killed. All 6 victims were found lying face down in their beds. No one had any drugs in their system. No one struggled. It is also believed that there was no suppressor used on the gun, and there was never a clear motive for the murders. Now, I say that last part because Butch changed his story every single time someone asked him about what happened. Originally, it was a mob hit. However, the hitman he accused wasn't in the village at the time of the murders. Matter of fact, he wasn't even in the U.S. at the time of the murders. So then he claimed the voices from the house made him do it. In 1986, he claimed 18-year-old Dawn killed everyone, and then they struggled and he accidentally killed her. Then claimed his mother killed all the children, with him only killing his mother. He said he took the blame for fear his maternal grandfather and his father's uncle would kill him. Now, the mob angle could have been very believable because his father's uncle was actually a captain in the Genovese crime family, which is probably why they went ahead and took him into protective custody so quickly. The trial for Ronald DeFeo Jr. began on October 14, 1975, with Butch pleading insanity. Now, anytime a heinous act such as murder is conducted, you are evaluated by psychiatrists. The psychiatrist stated that although Butch used heroin and LSD and had antisocial personality disorder, he was well aware of his actions at the time of the murders, meaning he wasn't acting as an insane person. Presiding Judge Thomas Stark declared the case the most heinous murders ever committed in Suffolk County, New York. On November 21st, 1975, Butch was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder. December 4th, 1975, he was sentenced to 6 consecutive 25 to life sentences. He was held at the Sullivan Correctional Facility in Fallsburg, New York, until his death on March 29, 2021, at the age of 69. All of his appeals and parole requests were denied. And also, they have vowed to never release his cause of death. Hold on to that for a second. Because you'd probably think that the story's over right here, right? That's where it ends. But remember, I told you this is a whatnot too. Well, that picks up about a week after Butch's sentencing. 13 months after the DeFeo murders, George and Kathy Lutz moved into the beautiful home they had just purchased for a steal. They were able to buy the nearly furnished 5-bedroom home at 112 Ocean Avenue for a mere $80,000. Now, they were told by the realtor a family had been murdered there. But after a couple discussions about it, the newly married couple just couldn't pass it up. Most of, if not all of, the furniture that was still inside the home belonged to the murdered family. Now, George and Kathy Lutz had gotten married in July of 1975. Kathy had 3 children from her first marriage. Later on, she and George would add 2 more girls to the mix, giving them 2 boys, Daniel and Christopher, and 3 girls. Missy, Noel, and Gabrielle. They would only live in the house for a mere 28 days. Claims of paranormal happenings began immediately, beginning with a priest coming in to bless the home and being slapped and then told to leave. The priest told the family not to ever sleep in that specific room. George would wake up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, which was about the time the murders took place. There were strange odors and green-like substances that would ooze through keyholes and the cracks in the floors and walls. The garage door would open and shut on its own. A knife was knocked down in the kitchen. A creature that looked like a pig was seen staring down from a window. George woke up to Kathy levitating above their bed, and Daniel and Christopher also levitated over their beds. Now, I feel it should be mentioned that George Lutz dabbled in the occult at the time, and he also had a lot of financial and legal debt. So that's just a couple things to keep in mind. In 1979, George and Kathy took a lie detector test, and they passed. Their former lawyer claimed the three of them created the entire story after several bottles of wine. He only made the claim after he had a falling out with them over money, though. To this day, George and Kathy's son Daniel says that the house completely ruined his life, and he still has nightmares about it. The priest confirmed that he was indeed slapped and told to get out when he was there. However, police records show officers were never called to the house while the Lutz lived there. George and Kathy would divorce in 1988. The two remained on good terms even though they couldn't make their marriage work. James and Barbara Cromartie purchased the home in 1977 and lived there for 10 years without incident. As a matter of fact, the home has changed owners 4 or 5 times since the Lutz family moved out, and no one has made any complaints of anything paranormal. What they have complained about, though, is people coming and taking pictures of the home because of the books and movies about it. At one point, one of the previous owners actually had the address changed. The home has gone through several renovations as well and is still a private residence. I stress that. It is a private residence. Someone lives there. They are raising a family there. They don't need people aggravating them. Kathy Lutz passed away August 17th, 2004, of emphysema in Arizona. George passed away May 8th, 2006, of heart disease in Nevada. That, my friends, is the true story behind what we know as the Amityville Horror. Now, if you look up the Amityville Historical Society, there is no mention of the DeFeo murders or the Lutz family. This is because no one in the village is happy with the attention, and they decline to discuss any of it. So if you are a fan of the book or the movies, please, 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 please do not try to go snooping around the area. These folks, they really just want to have normal lives. They didn't ask for any of this attention. And also, I neat little tidbit that I found while I was doing my research. Al Capone had a house there. I don't know exactly where it was. I just know he did have a home there. But I looked up the statistics, and Amityville is an extremely safe area. And it's safer than 62% of U.S. cities. As of 2022, there was a population of 9,573 versus 333,287,557 people in the entire U.S. In Amityville, you have a 1 in 3 chance, a 1 in 3,191 chance of being the victim of a violent crime, in comparison to the 1 in 233% chance in the entire state of New York. Also in 2022, they had no murders, no rapes, 2 robberies, and 1 assault, versus 21,156 murders, 33,294 rapes, 220,450 robberies, and 893,980 assaults nationwide. Now, I tell these details because I want everyone to know how beautiful this place is. I was absolutely mesmerized by the pictures I saw. It is stunning. But the movies and the books make it seem like the entire village is just dark and dreary and horrible. And it's really not. I can't help but wonder if George probably stirred something up and that was why they had such a bad experience, because everything that he was experiencing did not coincide with the deaths of the family, other than the time that he was waking up. But then again, the other families may be having paranormal experiences and just don't want publicity. The things described by George and Kathy Lutz doesn't strike me as a haunting from the DeFeo family. It seems more evil if it happened. So it would be more demonic. I have so many questions regarding the murders, though. I looked at the crime scene photos. I cannot find the full autopsy reports. But if no one was drugged and no suppressor was used, how did he kill 6 family members with a rifle without them hearing anything and getting out of bed to check? How did the neighbors not hear anything? These houses are fairly close together. And again, a 35 caliber Marlin is a high-powered rifle. It's pretty stinking loud. And the way they were all lying in bed, it's not natural. Ron Sr. was positioned as if he either fell on the bed or someone moved him back to the bed. And given that it took 15 hours for Butch to let anyone know, he had ample opportunity to pose the bodies. None of the men were covered up. I say men, but the two boys that were killed, they were under 18. So, but they were not covered up. They were in their nightclothes, fully exposed to the elements. The only ones who were covered up, the mom's face was covered up. And then the 13-year-old, her head was covered up. And then Dawn was covered. But to actually cover her face, he didn't do that. But that would make sense with the mom and the 13-year-old if they were awake when he killed them. Because he didn't want to have to deal with seeing their face. But I just have so many questions. I could almost believe the mob hit, to be honest, especially since they refused to release his cause of death. I'm just curious of what he died from. Please, guys, let me know what you think. You can follow me anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube under Tanya Ratliff. Just type in True Crime and Whatnot, and it should pop up. And also, if you enjoy video games, I have recently started streaming on Twitch under the name TurkeyBabe33. So if you enjoy that, drop me a follow. Sometimes I play the podcast. But until next time, stay true and whatnot. Talk to you soon.